All right. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining and happy Friday. It's the first Friday of March. And who can believe that we are actually in March of 2022? I feel like COVID has stole 2 years of all of our life. So today we're talking about human intelligence, leadership, cultivating emotional intelligence, and psychological safety, and what that means. See if I'm moving my, okay. So if you like to share on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you consider your own emotional intelligence level? If you feel like sharing, just put it in the chat. This is your own perception, how you think about yourself and your emotional intelligence, whatever the definition of an emotional intelligence is for you. Very good. We have numbers coming up. Thank you for that. And at the end, once you're done with this talk, you can do another reflection and check and see if you're still thinking the same number, or maybe you want to tweak it and change it a little bit. We are at an inflection point. I brought the COVID because the COVID really changed all of our life, our personal and professional life. And this is an inflection point for us that we need to be smart and vigilant and see what needs to be changed. Because when we are at an inflection point, what you do with that is very important. Either you adopt that and you will go to an exponential growth, or you're not adopting it and you will have a catastrophic decline. And right now here, our inflection point is being an evolutionary leader and evolve and adopt emotional intelligence in our leadership and be more humanly present and have a human intelligence. So what that means. Before doing so, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Bahar. I am an internist. I am a physician executive. I work for Humana and cover the three states that we have, which is California, Nevada, and Hawaii. My passion is human development and leadership development. So I call myself an illustrative storyteller. And what you see is really all of my illustrations. And this is how I can express myself and I can really bring my thoughts. And that's what I do. I draw them. So I put all of my illustrations together and here you go. I'm going to be talking about what is really close to my heart. And that is empowering others to do the best and explore the deepest part of themselves and find their potential and exponentially grow into that. I am a physician executive. I am CPs, which is Certified Physician Executive, and I do have organizational leadership and psychological safety certification, as well as empathy and emotional intelligence at work. I'm currently doing a organizational psychology at Cornell. It's just something, hey, it's something that is very close to me, and I am willing to develop myself in a more deeper level. So not a psychologist, but I really enjoy that field. So what is emotional intelligence and what is IQ, or our intellectual quotient, versus our emotional quotient? We call it EI, we call it EQ. So the difference is that you're born with your IQ. The IQ is not going to change. Your IQ is going to stay the same and is never changing. Once your brain is fully developed, which is around like 25, it's going to be the same unless you will have some sort of a brain injury or you will get Alzheimer's. So obviously our IQ is going to decline, but this is a pretty rigid skill. It's not changing throughout our life. And this is the IQ that we are born with it. You might be learning a lot more, but your IQ is not changing. So that growth is a little different from the actual IQ. However, your emotional intelligence is such a stretchable skill set. And that's a very flexible skill. I don't call it a soft skill. I call it a flexible skill because you can expand it. You can grow it. You see the circles are going to be all around, and it's going to get bigger and bigger, and it can create a ripple effect, and it can really expand and go beyond who you are and touch other people. So if you're telling me that you don't have, because people say, oh, I don't have enough emotional intelligence, the answer is no. We all have it. We can grow it, we can expand it, and we can affect other people. So it's not a rigid skill. It's such a flexible, stretchable skill. And that, my friend, is what we call neuroplasticity. You can stretch your brain and you can expand the skill set. So what is emotional intelligence? It's the art of, once you get that signal, which is recognizing the signal, regulating your response and then reacting. Instead of like recognizing and reacting, it's not a reflection like that. It's not a reactory like that. I would choose my words wisely. It's more of a regulation. So that's what I call, is choosing your self-reflection, self-thought, your awareness before reacting. Now, what do we do when we are being exposed and faced something? We have two brains. We have our primal brain, which is our emotional brain. It's our limbic system, and we have two little tiny pieces that are called amygdala. That's our emotional primal brain. The primal brain is designed to save us. It's for survival. So what does the primal brain do is fear, flight, and fight. That's your default operating system. Do you want to have a default operating system, or you want to upgrade like anything else? The upgrade is our intellectual brain, your prefrontal cortex, that it will regulate the signal. So it's not just to help you survive, it's for you to thrive. So if we want to really upgrade our operating system, we need to deploy that emotional intelligence, which your emotions are now acting more intelligently. And how we do that? By practicing it, you're going to move the signal from your emotional brain to your intellectual brain, reflect, regulate, and then respond. And as you do this more and more and more, you're creating new neural pathways. A new neural pathway is going to form in your brain. And that is what you call neuroplasticity. Your brain actually can change and stretch and become a different brain with a new neural pathway. And how we do that? With mindfulness. And mindfulness is really not just meditation. It's being present, reflection, awareness. When I get the signal, I analyze it, I reflect, I think. I'll send the signal to my intellectual brain, and then I react. And as you do this more frequently, you will develop a new neural pathway. So emotional intelligence idea was brought to us by Daniel Goleman, who wrote the book Emotional Intelligence 25 years ago. And he separated the two to two main domains: emotional intelligence of self-mastery and also the social mastery. The self-mastery is our self-awareness. What is my emotional self-awareness? What emotions I am feeling? What is the feeling that I have right now? It's really feeling yourself, understanding yourself, and bringing your authentic self. Understanding who you are and be comfortable with who you are, and cultivating that authenticity, having that emotional presence, emotional agility, naming the emotions. That gives you so much wisdom and awareness, because you can expand that. You can know where you are. That feeling that comes to you, the rush that you have when you are hearing something. What am I feeling? A lot of times we don't know. We're so hijacked by it, and we don't know how we feel. We are reacting before really analyzing how we feel. So that's our self-awareness. And then we have the self-regulation, how we are going to respond. that self-control, that gives us adaptability, because then we know how to adapt with the environment and how to navigate and how to mitigate. We will have a positive outlook because we are a lot more in charge and we are regulating. It's very fascinating that self-regulation is actually giving us that optimism. And then we have the social awareness. Social awareness gives you empathy. You understand the other people's perspective and feelings, and not just people. It actually gives you an awareness and understanding of an organization. We are all leaders in an organization. That gives you that perspective. What's happening now? How do I navigate? What do I do? It gives you tremendous value. And that's why leaders that they have a high emotional intelligence are very successful, because they do have that capacity of understanding themselves, regulating themselves, understanding what's going on, connect with people, and building relationship with people. And that's how they are able to be inspirational, influential, create trust, build a team, conflict management, having those crucial hard conversations. We all need to be equipped by that. And the reason we're having this conversation today is just simply to get the idea, and then maybe we can talk about more, what are the practices that we can do? How do we really put this in action? What do I do if I want to be like that? How do I cultivate it? So what is the leadership for tomorrow? It's a leadership that you are using your human, which is differentiator of us from all the different livelihoods in the planet, our human intelligence, which is our prefrontal cortex, the cortex of the brain that no one else has. The leadership for tomorrow, if you were with us when Indra Nooyi came, and if you haven't, go and watch, was very powerful. She created performance with purpose. And the leadership for tomorrow is having that purpose, which is creating the meaning. We are all belonging to a bigger purpose that is bigger than us. It's just not creating results right now because it's not sustainable. It's not just the performance. It's why we are here. What are we doing on this planet? Why I'm doing what I'm doing? Because then it gives you a lot more meaning. And as a leader, it is our job to create that common purpose for our team. You ask me, Bahar, what you do? I can say, oh, I'm a medical director. I just review things. That's not a purpose. That's just performance. But you can ask me, Bahar, what you do? And I say, well, I review things to make sure that the funds that are given for our patients are equally distributed, relatable to the complexity of their diseases, so they can live their best life and provide the best outcome for them while they are experiencing a more convenient and a simple way of receiving that care. That is a big purpose. So nothing is going to be bothering me if it's happening right now, because it relates to now. It's not related to my bigger purpose. So I will be more adaptable. I will be more tenacious because I'm here for a reason. And then partnership. In the global leadership, it's not possible if you're just going to do the performance. We want a purpose, but we also want a partnership. You have to move from just our company to community. You need to think about ecosystem. Your company has so much relationship, that's social awareness, so much relationship with a lot of other companies. For me, all the vendors, all the partners, all the physicians, all the patients. So you really need to understand how to create and cultivate that partnership and that trust. That is the emotional intelligence part. That's a human intelligence that we need to do that. So with that, I created my platform COPE, which is courage, optimism, patience, and empathy, because I heard myself talking about these things for about a decade. When I talk to people, when I share my purpose, when I am trying to go through my own life with a lot of, chaos, hardship, ups and downs, how do I get back on? That's what I've been talking about. So I'm going to share with you what I mean by courage, which is the foundation of my human intelligence. Courage. So what is courage and why do we need courage? Choosing the comfort, it's never going to give us growth. We got to choose courage because that's where growth happens, when we are stretched. But in the leadership, or even in our personal life, honestly, this is not the leadership in the professional life only, it's leadership, personal, professional. We need to remove that fear that we are not enough, we are imperfect, we will fail. The courage is going to give us that power that I'm going to make myself vulnerable. I'm going to expose myself. And yes, I have flaws, and I may fail, but the growth happens there. And it's a lot more important than that, because if you hold a position of power, everyone is looking at you. And if you're able to be courageous and bring that courage to your leadership and life, everyone is looking at you. You're showing them how to be brave, how to remove the armor, how not to be so scared of failing, how to run a fearless organization. As Amy Edmondson says in her book, that it's all about psychological safety. It makes you an adaptable, accountable, and an agile and innovative person. Why? Because if you have the courage, you will say you can't deliver at the time, or you come and ask for help. You don't hide behind the armor of being perfect. So that's your accountability. You're adaptable because if something comes your way, you have the courage to face the uncertainty and ambiguity. And then you're agile because you have the courage to move fast. Why we don't do that? Because we are scared of failing. So courage is a foundation of a human intelligence leadership, in my opinion, the leadership for tomorrow. In our organizations, we keep saying, we want change, we want innovation, and we want creativity. So if I'm the CEO of the company and I come and give this pitch, none of it is possible without cultivating the vulnerability. You want to change, you will be vulnerable. You want to innovate, you may fail, you may not, it may suck. So I'm going to be vulnerable doing that. If I want to create something, even a simple craft or a painting, I'm going to be vulnerable. So if I, as a leader of a company, come and give the pitch and I'm not able to cultivate the vulnerability, show them that it's okay to do that, it's okay to fail, it is safe to be incorrect, I cannot expect anybody to do so. So for us, if we really want to bring change and innovation and creativity to our organization, we really, really need to cultivate the vulnerability. Optimism, the part that I think is so missing, because the entire world, the marketing, advertisement, the competitions, the growth, the capitalism, it's so around the scarcity mindset. And I want to tell you that that's not sustainable. Optimism is believing in the possibilities, believing in the opportunities. It's having that growth and abundance mindset. That's how you can be inclusive. How can you be inclusive if you don't have that optimism and believing the possibility and the goodness of people, and you can accept them? How can you be adaptable if you don't know if you are going along and you accept it's not going to be a disaster? How can you be generous? Because generosity is giving before taking if you don't have the optimism. If you want to build trust in your team, if you want people to believe in you, you need to bring and plant that seed of optimism. Because optimism is just not only believing in the possibilities, it is at its core believing in your abilities. You're the one that is opening the doors of possibilities. So deep down, it's a belief in yourself. Having the abundance mindset is there are opportunities. There are unlimited opportunities. I just need to have that vision to open them. If one didn't go through, there is another one that is coming my way. I just recently applied for a job, which was a moonshot. I wanted a job, but it was a moonshot, and probably if I wanted to be my real state of mind, I shouldn't have applied because I would have not get the job and it would be such a disappointment. But I told myself, if you are teaching courage, you better be one that is cultivating it. Go and apply. You may get an interview, so you get an exposure. You're not going to get the job, but you are going to practice overcoming the fear of rejection and fear of failure. And obviously, I did not get the job. And I've been so bruised and traumatized. And I keep telling myself, that's why, that the reason you did it was to do it this way, to learn and cultivate your courage. And you have to learn from the experience. And remember, it's not a scarcity. Because if that didn't go through, there is another door that you can open now with the knowledge and the wisdom that you have gained from that, and take it and apply it somewhere else. I'll keep you all posted if that happens. It will. Patience. Patience is the one that I get the most questions and raised eyebrows. What do you mean by patience? Except people are not doing it correctly and not delivering on their promise and they just suck in their word. And is that what patience means? Do I really need to accept that crappy job? No. In my opinion, patience is really cultivating that presence and understanding that we need to trust the hard process. So it's kind of connected to optimism, trusting the hard process of going to that interview and failing or rejecting or being in the ambiguity if I'm going to get there or not. I'm going to learn a lesson from this process. That trust of the hard process doesn't mean that every time that you apply, you're going to get the job. It means that if you are applying and you're going to go through that hardship, you are trusting that that hardship is going to teach you a lesson, which is very invaluable. It's about progress. Patience is trusting the progress, the small milestones that we are celebrating. Patience is about having a bigger purpose. My bigger purpose is the growth, to get exposure and visibility, whatever it takes. So that is what patience means, a delayed gratification with a purpose. That we will all get there one way or another with a different vehicle, and the experiences and the lessons that you're going to learn are going to be so critical in how we will evolve. And I'm here to evolve. And I keep reminding myself, you're here to evolve, stick. Something will happen, something is going to show up. You learned a lot from an experience. And that's how you learn so much about yourself. What are your capacities? What are your fears? What can take you off? How you can go back and build yourself and be there. That is the exponential growth and evolution that we're all after. We all talk about growth mindset. But what is growth mindset? Growth mindset is nothing but patience, optimism, and courage. Having the patience of persistence. I am going to trust and try again. Courage of trying and optimism that there is a goodness that comes after it. And I'm believing in the possibilities and the opportunities that are going to come my way. And last is empathy, which is really choosing the feeling. It's not a sympathy that, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way. No, I'm here with you. I see your perspective. I feel your feeling. I see how you are. I see the organization, the way you are. I am having that relationship with the surroundings. Be more inclusive, because then you can get it, you can understand it, you can feel it. And that's how we build a belonging culture and a psychologically safe culture. I'm going to turn my AC on. Okay. And that's how we're going to move from emotional intelligence to psychological safety, because for that, we do need the empathy. Belonging culture. We keep hearing it. There was this notion of, I am going to hire people that are like me, or I can relate to. It's such a fit culture, and that's not what we want. Fit culture is like, we all playing the same instrument, the same music, we're going to come, and it's going to be just so monotone. There's no flavor to it. But imagine a belonging culture. We are going to play a music, an instrument, a different instrument, but we create a harmonious symphony while we are bonding together and creating that belonging, but we preserve our unique voice. Cultural belonging is a combination of diversity and inclusion. Diversity is just a number, opening the seats by the table, but inclusion is the mindset, amplifying, giving voice, giving permission to people to speak up. And then belonging is the culture. Psychological danger, which I think majority of organizations are experiencing it. And even in a micro level, in micro organizations are experiencing it. The fear of admitting mistakes. I do that. Sometimes I, catch myself that I have a fear of admitting mistake. I'm trying to sugarcoat it. Blaming others. That's probably that emotional brain, preservation, the fear. You want to protect yourself. You want to survive. So the first thing comes to your mind, let me find someone and pin it on them. I'm very less likely to share your views because you're scared to be marginalized, blamed, shamed, bullied, or laughed at. Think about it. Do you feel that way? Do you feel that way at your home, with your friends, at your work? Or do you feel that you are perhaps causing it? You create an environment that people may have a fear of admitting, blaming others, or just not speaking up. Psychological safety, though, is admitting the mistakes, because mistakes are not defining me. I am good enough. I make the mistakes. Those are my acts. I'm not my acts. I am who I am. I'm not defined with what I do. I'm defined with who I am. And I will try. I fail because I'm courageous. And I'm not going to let that mistake define me. I feel safe enough to do that. And I learned from it, because we are going to evolve. So that part of patience, I didn't get the job, but I learned from it. A lot of insight from that interview. And in fact, they told me that they may have another position opening up, a different position. So at least the hiring manager knows my name. And I'm feeling safe to share my ideas. It's my idea. It may be funny. It may be very stupid. It may be completely out of line, but it's my idea. And you're willing to hear it. And I don't feel excluded or marginalized or laughed at or dumb for saying it, because I feel safe. How do we build a psychological safe environment? Leaders, chiefs, how do we do that? We need three things: empathy, transparency, and curiosity. Curiosity and transparency are deeply rooted in courage because you gotta stay courageous and don't talk and stay a little curious a little longer and see people with this curiosity, not judgment. That takes courage. And transparency is being vulnerable. That is all courage. And then empathy. This is what I always talk. There is not a day that I do not say this. To create a psychologically safe culture, you need to do two things. You, at the position of power, that everyone is looking at you, you set the tone. So the first thing you need to do is to model vulnerability. Yeah, you gotta do that. Don't wait for anybody else. And be so vigilant that the mini act of vulnerability that shows up in your organization, you have to reward it. Because then that's how you tell people it is safe. It was safe that I was vulnerable, see, but not enough until someone else is vulnerable and then I reward them. Because if you don't make yourself vulnerable, why don't we make ourselves vulnerable? Because we don't trust the environment. We don't trust the people. So the message in not making yourself vulnerable is that I don't trust you. How can you expect people to trust you if you don't trust them? So you need to model the vulnerability. That is so impactful, and be very, very curious and vigilant to reward it. How do I reward the vulnerability? If someone comes and tells me, this is how I feel today, and I feel stupid, or I feel exhausted, or I feel like I'm being judged, or yesterday there was a leader that she came and she talked in front of 10 of us and she said, people are saying that she's intimidating. That's a lot of vulnerability to come and say that she feels others see her as an intimidating person. And I can tell you, she can be seen that way. The first reaction I had was, well, no one is intimidating. People are getting intimidated by us. So just to clarify intimidation, because that really has to do the perception of the others. But how do I reward? I would say, thank you for trusting and sharing the feeling that you're carrying. It's a heavy feeling. With that little mini comment that I made, she feels that she was not awkward. She was not marginalized. She was not said, oh, another one. Another woman is going to come and say, oh, everybody is thinking that I am an intimidating person. Why women of power, they all feel that way. You have to be very curious. How so? Tell me more. And thank you for sharing that part of you with us. It's not an easy feeling to share. It is not something that defines you. And I am so pleased that you had that bravery to take that armor and show your real self. Because if you think about it, that intimidation is actually the armor that she wears on a daily basis. And then she removed that armor and she actually said, I'm not happy people see me intimidating. I have to immediately reward that moment that the armor was gone and she showed her real self. Next time, she's not going to be blaming herself or resenting the fact that she said that. Next time, she will say it again. She may have the courage to share that with another group of people that she doesn't know, but she may test the water. So psychological safety is the act of permission and respect. You allow people, you include them, and then you reward them. You respect them for who they are, and you will give them permission to be who they are. That's the reward part. I have so much in the chat box. I'm getting distracted. I'm going to save them all, and I'm going to read through all of them. Thank you for sharing all your thoughts. So how do we move through a psychological safety stage? First, inclusion. You got to give the feeling that I'm included. You accept me. That's the first stage of psychological safety. No matter what color, what ethnicity, what gender, what background, what beliefs I have, I am included. I can just come and sit and I can be seen. You know my name, you pronounce my name correctly. You know a little bit about me, so I can feel I'm included and I relate. That's very important. Where am I from? What is my living status? Where do I live? Curiosity. 2, learning safety. So if I feel safe enough that I come and sit with you and you say something and I hear it, I feel like, that's interesting. I'm going to ask a follow-up question, but I won't if I don't feel safe, because what I'm going to feel like, Bahar was so not in tune and she wasn't listening and she's the most stupid person here and she doesn't know the acumen why she's asking the question. These are the thoughts that go through my mind. That's why we don't ask questions, because we don't want to sound stupid. But if I feel safe, I know whatever that comes to my mind and it's based on curiosity and I can ask and I will be rewarded and I won't be judged. And then I feel so safe that actually I can share my thoughts, my ideas, my opinions. It may not be aligned, but they're accepted to be heard. They may not be implemented, but they're welcome to be shared. And last is you are safe enough to actually challenge the status quo, to rethink the routine, to think again and look at things to see what can be changed. You're not going to be scared of questioning things that have been running for years. And that, my friend, is when we move from an inclusion to an innovation. That's when you have an agile culture and you move to innovation. From inclusion, which is lowering the friction in the social level. We accept each other. So our social friction is very low. To innovation, that we have intellectual friction. We challenge each other. We challenge the status quo. We are empathic to include, and we're courageous to challenge the status quo. So you see how COPE is coming together to create a psychological safety. Remember, diversity is just a number. Equity is an access. Inclusion is a mindset. You got to give that voice, not just setting them up or giving them a piece. You've got to feed the voice, amplify the voice, include the voice, bond them together with a purpose. And that's how you build a belonging culture. So why do I do this? Why do we need this? What's the business case? Well, you create a culture, you improve the engagement, you add to your bottom line. Because when you have engagement, you have productivity. You created a purpose. People are not going to be engaged. It's not like glue that I'm going to be engaged to my computer. It's not engagement. Engagement is based on the purpose. It's based on that safety. It's based on inclusion, based on belonging. And when that happens, then I'm productive and efficient and I can produce. And you don't need to micromanage me because I feel included. I feel I'm there. I feel I belong. You create unparalleled leadership skills, that exponential growth with the economy of scale. You're one, but imagine if you can create 10 people with that mindset, how that can create a ripple effect. You can make a dent in the organization. Unparalleled, emotionally intelligent leadership skills. That's a culturally competent organization, creating the trust and delivering a long-term value over a short-term results, a sustainable result that will outlast the duration of our presence, because the purpose has been built. And these leaders are going to create a long-term value, and it will go beyond our presence. And the cost of capital, because when you have engagement and belonging and inclusion, and there is a cultural competency, there is a reduced burnout, people feel they belong. You don't need to go through the training expenses, retraining, the mitigation and litigation and all the legal costs. So that's how we'll add to your bottom line. That's why we need human intelligence for the leadership for tomorrow. And acceleration. Why? Because we said we go from inclusion to innovation. Psychological safety feeds agile. We not only perform, but we also transform. That's what we want. The global tomorrow leadership is performance and purpose and partnership. So not only you have to perform, you have to transform. And that's why an emotionally intelligent leadership is an impactful leadership. If you're going to be only limited to your domain skills, this is your effect. But if you want to expand it and have your domain skills and add your human skills, then that's an exponential results that you can create. And that's my code, because I'm a recovering perfectionist. So the courage to show up with all your imperfections and remove the armor of perfectionism is cultivating your uniqueness. Because you're unique, I am unique, and we can always bring our true, authentic, unique self and embrace it and celebrate it. We do not want to be different like other people. We are ourselves. And that is what differentiates us and bring our unique value and talent and contribution that is aligned with our purpose and our value. And that's how we can make the biggest impact in our own life and others' life. Yes, we are perfectionists. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you score your organization? Mini organization, home, friend circles, work, your team, the entire build of your organization. You feel that you are having or creating or living a psychologically safe space. Some numbers are really good, some numbers are not so much. So we need to build this from ground up. So what I can do, in case you're interested, I will do masterclass, which is about 90 minutes. So I will be like giving more pause and elaboration and stories, which is about 90 minutes, or I will do a workshop, which is about 4 hours. And that's a lot of practice together. And that's what I bring to organizations. If you're interested, you can always reach out to me on Chief. And here where you can find me in social media. And guess what? We have about 14 minutes. So let me try and see if I can unmute everyone. All right. So how do I allow participants to unmute themselves? Yes. Okay. Can you try and see if you can unmute yourself? So we'll make sure that everyone can get unmuted and talk.
Yes.
All right. Bring it on.
This was a fabulous presentation. I would be interested in learning more about the workshops and masterclass.
Sure. Reach out to me on Chief, or here's my email. Any thoughts?
Bahar, there was a question that I asked earlier in the conversation around when you're a leader, but you're not the leader and the culture is not from that person, is how do you manage up to help beyond being vulnerable yourself and creating a psychologically safe team for your team down, how do you manage up to help an organization cultivate this kind of a culture more globally?
It's a huge challenge depending where you are in the company. And this is the question I get a lot of it. In my opinion, the person who holds a position of power can create the most traction because they set the tone. But if you're not in that level, all that we can do is by modeling it, continuous modeling. And it can become very discouraging because if the person that is above me doesn't understand what vulnerability means, then I'm not going to really get anywhere. It is a huge challenge. But the thing that I have tried and somewhat been successful, it's been modeling. By modeling the vulnerability and by cultivating the cope and talking about it. So if you are cultivating courage, if you get an opportunity, speak about it, why you did what you did, and why you're doing it. What is the belief behind it, and why you think this is a useful tool. People that they are looking up to you and they are your direct report or you have indirect influence on them, they're going to listen. And hopefully you will create a bigger crowd that they're not your direct report, but they're influenced by your app, by your modeling it, that you have to be very persistent. Then they can also do that through their own mini organizations. We can't change people. Unfortunately, it's a futile and a very disappointing expectation to have. We cannot change people. We can only change ourselves and hope that they can learn from us by modeling. People that they are above you or below you, if they start any mini act of vulnerability, courage, optimism, empathy, patience, grab it, be curious, have this magnifier and look at it and cultivate it and give them positive feedback. So they feel this was good. This was something that was rewarded and it's accepted.
I love the idea of magnifying. Sorry, my cat is helping. Yeah, I love the idea of magnifying. It also is helpful, I think, when minority opinions or minority participants are in a group, that magnifying their thoughts by echoing and repeating, that technique I think is helpful for a number of things.
Any other thoughts?
I thought this was absolutely lovely. I think your message was so on point. I love the fact that it is useful whether you're leading a team or whether you're leading the entire corporation. And I have to tell you, your slides are gorgeous and really match the energy that you push out. So congratulations. And yes, I will be in touch with you about the master classes.
You got it. Thank you. Thank you for the feedback.
Happy to.
This is Sarah. I just want to quickly echo, I love the illustrations too. And I recently started doodling when I take notes because I'm finding it activates a couple places in the brain and I remember the information better. So I don't keyboard notes, keynotes anymore. I just draw stuff, not as elegantly as you do though.
Well, it didn't start like this, so great job. I'll tell you a little bit about why I do this. So I started my career as a professor in a medical school, teaching when I was 27, coming from Iran with a very thick accent, and nobody could understand what I was saying. And I was teaching genetics and embryology. And imagine those are very, very complex topics. And then pathology. And I'm like, nobody can understand what I'm saying. And these are very difficult concepts, and especially when it's embryology and all those layers and everything. So I started drawing and creating images and writing everything on a transparency, and everybody could understand what I'm actually saying. That's how I developed this skill set.
think there was one more really good cue in there, but I don't want to speak for somebody else. I think there was.
Please, I will review all those questions, but if you're here, please come and talk.
Yeah, this was fabulous. Not a question. I just want to say this was a 1 hour very well invested. I learned a lot and I appreciate the thought process, and I echo what the others have said about your presentation skills and the slides. And I also write things down. I am a technological, techie. I love my electronics, but I have to keep a notebook, and that's to retain. And I took a lot of notes while you were speaking, and the visual with the words on the notebook page helped me to absorb a lot of what you've said. So thank you so much. This was fantastic today.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And feel free to give me criticism and tell me how I can make this better. I'm always here to learn. And I post a lot of my slides and a lot of caption on social media, mostly on LinkedIn and some on Instagram. So feel free to reach out, to give me feedback, suggestions, and help me be better and create a more meaningful impact. Thank you.
Let me compliment you also on something. I have also been told I'm intimidating, which I think is ridiculous because I'm 5'3" and have big chubby cheeks and look like the Gerber baby grew up. But I've been told this by like men in finance and men in tech. So apparently it is true. And the fact that you said you are not intimidating, other people are intimidated by you is a better way to think about it and a better way to reframe it.
Absolutely. We all get intimidated, right? Think about the moment that you get intimidated, and you get intimidated based on your own fears, your own insecurities, your own shortcomings, and the fear of being exposed and being seen as who you really are. And that is the intimidation that we receive from people. If someone comes and enters the room and does something that really reminds me of my own shortcomings, if someone who is like, I'm obsessed with weight, that's my problem, really my problem, and goes back to my childhood. If someone who is very fit comes, I get intimidated because that's my struggle. That is my struggle, has nothing to do with the other person. It may be a very mini second of an intimidation, but it happens. So people get intimidated by our presence based on their own insecurities and the fear of being exposed as who they see themselves they are, and they do not want the world to see them. So they will name us intimidating because that's an armor that they want to wear to protect themselves. Beautiful, thank you.
Can I ask one more question?
Absolutely.
I really love this presentation, and I usually, when I love something, I want to do it twice. So will you be able to share the recording?
Sure. If I get it recorded correctly, yes. This is the first time I did a recording. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of powerful information here, and I just wanted to, maybe we can, by myself, listen to it again and reflect.
Not a problem. If I got it correctly, yes, indeed. And I will be back, try to be here. I said that at the beginning, every month. So if you like to come back and share your thoughts and engage, that's my mission, to be here every month.
I will.
And reach out to me on Chief. These are my contact, and you can reach out to me on Chief. If I did not answer your questions or I missed anything, just feel free, you reach out. And please, everybody connect with me on LinkedIn.
I did already, so.
I completely agree. If you need help with the recording, you're still recording. So it'll just go into a folder on your Zoom.
Okay,
And then what you can do easily is just upload the Zoom link into a YouTube, and then you can send out a YouTube link rather than a mega Zoom file. That would be the easiest way to do it.
okay, so right now I do stop the recording.
Will she be able to reach out to all of the participants today and share that by